All right. Tuesday, November 21st, 5:53 p.m. How you doing? How you feeling? And what's going on in that mind? Today, very interesting day. Again, having a plan, the fact that I plan my days the night before helps me tremendously to stay focused on what needs to be done for the day, and so that my mind does not get caught up on trivial tasks. So I want to congratulate myself for, again, having the rituals that will back up the success that will eventually manifest in my life because of rituals like the truth cards, rituals like getting up early in the morning and thinking about my life, how I can improve myself, how I can improve my industry, how I can improve my environment, thinking about the things that I want to be, thinking about who I'd like to be, thinking about what I'd like to do, and thinking about what I'd like to have enables me to stay focused throughout the day. This makes the second day where I've had my board every night. I look at, and so just to go over the process for myself in the future when I get it, so that I can continue to make this great decision in that present time, and anybody else who's listening, that I get up, the night before. What I do is I pull out my be having do list, and then from that list, and the to-do list from the day before, I create my to-do list for the next day. I also try to make sure that I put on there to-dos that fit certain categories, especially my physical, emotional, mental, spiritual goals for each day, my daily rituals for that help me specifically in that way. I make sure I put those in there. I also make sure that I take that's 10 push-ups. I make sure that I think about what projects and things of that nature I need to do. And then I also like to put on there like other obligations. And so today is Tuesday. What I've noticed is last night I stayed up till about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I went to bed around like 3:30, got up around 6. Today I took a nap around, I think it was around 12 o'clock. It was about 2 hours. And I feel like I had a full night's rest. I mean, right now I could probably go for another nap, but I actually feel like I've had a whole night's rest. And so I am making small steps to change some very big habits that I've had, and to change rituals that I've held on to for a very long time. It's actually causing me to be way more productive. Yesterday I got an 80. I think I had about, I'm trying to remember what I had. What I like to do, and I'll come back to this at the end of the week, because every night I take a picture of the task and what I completed. So at the end of the week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compile all of these lists and do an average to see how many tasks I actually can do or have done during the week, and how I can optimize this. Now, what I'm noticing is that I need to set some days for my personal projects. I need to set some days and allot some time for obligation. Tomorrow, I'm going to be cleaning and doing obligations, and I went on ahead and set that up on my yesterday to-do list. It's Wednesday, it's just the obligation day, so I'm going to be doing my obligations then. And so today this week I have a goal of $1,000. It's a considering what I'm doing right now, it is, I would say it's aggressive, but I don't think it's aggressive enough. I'm starting there, and then I'm going to be pushing the envelope higher and higher. That's 20 push-ups. I am going to be doing the Xamarin tutoring. What I'd like to do is go ahead and set a day for my projects. Just set a day for me to do work on my projects, and I'm going to try that on for a couple days, for maybe a week or two, just to see, because right now I hadn't started on anything on my project because I've been focusing much more on projects that help me, I almost said that help me succeed in accomplishing my short-term financial goals. So my personal projects are suffering because of that. I also need to go ahead and put my accounting system together. Tomorrow I'm going to be dealing with my accounting. Tonight, what I'd like to do, and this is on my calendar, or excuse me, this is on my to-do list, is to think about what I'd like to use Zapier for. I know in the last few recordings I've been talking about Zapier, and I've been thinking about how I'd like to use it, and I do have some ideas, but what I do need to do is sit down and think about it. Today, I'm going to be doing Xamarin tutoring. We're going to be working on binding. I'm continuing what I've been talking about in terms of Xamarin. I do like the MVVM design pattern. Some of the secrets and some of the, how should I say, ambiguity about how the architectural works has been uncovered. Some things have been cleared up for me. I've realized that it's essentially the MVP design pattern with binding. And so binding is what makes MVVM in terms of how it's implemented, especially on Xamarin.Forms. And so the binding mechanism allows the object, which essentially is represented by the view model, to bind directly to the view itself using a set of keywords and hints on the view to allow it to map directly to the model. In order to set binding, there has to be, the binding context of the view has to be set, and I think it can be set declaratively on the view itself. I know it can also be set it can be set what is that word? I'm going to stop and say that word correctly, programmatically. And so once the binding context is set programmatically, then binding, it's two-way binding by default unless you set one-way binding, which is from the model up. And so that's great. Also, what I do like about the MVVM design pattern is their use of the commands design pattern, command handler design pattern, where events are essentially marshaled by the command, or marshaled from the view to the view model vis-a-vis the command. And there are some pretty cool things that can be done to toggle different things on the UI based on the commands, based on the events. The iNotify property changed interface is also cool, especially how it can manage programmatic updates of properties based on computed values. And so there's some cool things that we're going to get into tonight. I'm still searching for this. I feel like I'm getting, or I think that I'm close to starting Project Oduduwa, which is the app that I designed. I have the screen caps, the wireframes for this app that I've been sitting on for a while, and that I'm going to be starting development on. That's 30 push-ups. I'm glad I do 40 push-ups in the morning. Tomorrow I might be in the bonus round on these push-ups. So I feel like I'm getting really close. I feel like the one piece that I think that I'm missing. I do have a book on Xamarin that's actually for free. If you go to, I believe it's dev or developer.xamarin.com / correct me if I'm wrong, guides. And then from there, it's a link to a free PDF ebook written by, I will know if for those who listen, if you want to know how to find it specifically, just make a comment or send me a message. I can kind of direct you to it. But I'm going to be reading that book because what I'd like to know is right now. So when a Xamarin project is created in .NET, especially in Visual Studio, it's created. You can create a portable class library, and that's essentially an abstraction of the project or the platform specific project. So you have a main portable class library that represents the main namespace to the platform specific projects, and then you have the platform specific projects. And so I like what I'm going to be reading that book for, and just kind of looking around is, and I might get a couple more books on Xamarin, is to understand how the portable class library, because right now when you create a XAML file, which is the view, you could create it in either the portable class library, like the main namespace project, or you can create it on the platform specific project. I've seen people talk about, if I had a view, for example, and this is what I have to find out, and I'll be reading this book and finding other books to read just to make sure that I have a solid understanding of this concept, is how to override views. If I, for example, have, one way to do it is, and most places online that I've found at this point talk about doing custom renderers to controls, where the renderers themselves you could dictate how the control itself renders based on the platform. But the scenario that I have is, and that works for one control, but the scenario that I might have, and I'm just interested to see how Xamarin deals with this, is if I have an entire section of a page, for example, that should only load in iOS, or an entire section of a page that should only load on a Windows phone or an Android. So so one way to do it is a renderer. I know you can actually have, and I have to look at this in my own solution, I know you can actually have that's 40. So I'm glad I do 40 in the morning, boy. I'm already at 40. So I know that you could create a view specific to the platform. And the way that I'm going to be doing the view models, especially in my own project, and I'm going to be helping my student restructure his code base, is because he has a lot of code in the code behind of the view, and using the MVVM model or design pattern, that's actually not preferred, where the view model itself would have the logic for the click events, would have the model, would have the model that's mapped directly to the properties, and it's all encapsulated inside of the view model. And so I'm going to have to help him to restructure that. And I know that in and of itself would lend itself to, that might actually be a part of the puzzle, because a view model I know can be overridden, and I could use, for example, and I do know with the IOC container, there are some ways that I'm seeing that this could work, because the IOC container would essentially hold the references to all of the view models that I would be building for the view, and they would all obviously be transient. But then for the platform specific, so if I had a view that's specific to an Android, and then another view that's specific to iOS, but they both kind of have similar properties, is to have a common interface between them, and then have a interface that renders or essentially map the object to that interface that reflects what the properties, especially the properties that are specific to the view. I'm thinking about doing something like that. I need to test that experiment. What I do know on my application that I'm going to be building is I don't right now, I don't foresee having a scenario like that, but I at least want to be able to, I know right now that it's going to be a list of view models. It's going to be a list of views. I'm going to be using the IOC container to map the views to the view model. And I might have to do some custom renderers because there might be some different controls for iOS and Android. There might just be some different controls for like the audio control, for like permissions and things of that nature. That's another thing that I need to kind of think about, because with this project, or with the person that I'm tutoring, is his project, he had to deal with a lot of permissions. And so, especially on the Android and the iOS. And so there right now is a class that wraps that logic, and that's cool. Or a NuGet package that does it. I think it's plugin.permissions, and that's cool. I just need to make sure that I'm using that in the correct fashion, and that might be something that gets referenced in the view model vis-a-vis the IOC container. I think the IOC container is going to be huge because it's going to be the glue that maps the views to the view models. Because I'm going to set the binding context for, I can have a new instance. I have to think about that. Because one thing to think about with the instances and how they're passed is when the page, I have to think about it like a Windows Forms project. In a Windows Forms project, when a form is loaded, it's loaded in memory, and it doesn't get destroyed unless you literally destroy it or dispose it. And so I have to think about, because basically when a user is logged in, that's when I'd like to populate their data. That's essentially when at the point at which I like to populate their data. So there's still a few scenarios. There's the login and security piece. I'm aware of how security works in .NET. I need to understand and kind of look at and bring myself up to speed on how security and login works on the Xamarin app or in Xamarin Forms. And so I'm learning a bunch now. I will say, I'm learning a ton on this project, and I'm grateful that I'm able to learn all of this, because this is ultimately going to help me to develop this app that I've been sitting on this whole time. And so that's that. And so today I'm going to be thinking about that. I'd like to that's 50. Tomorrow I got an extra 10. My goodness. So tonight, I'd like to spend some time on doing some polite mail tasks. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to get up. So I got a few things that I'd like to do. I still have a few tasks that's still pending. That's 60. I do have a few tasks that's pending on my board that I could cherry pick. So I'm gonna get up in here and cherry pick those. I'm gonna go on my jog, come back and cherry pick some tasks off my board to do and knock those out really quick, just so that my average can be up for the day. I like it because it helps me to like keep morale up based on like what I know I've done for the day, instead of having this on my mind. That's another great reason for having a board. Like, I have a board, a whiteboard that I pasted on a wall. Not pasted, but you could go get a whiteboard from Walmart, ones with the sticky backs that you can put right up on the wall, and it'll cost you less than $6-7. But the productivity and how it optimizes your life makes it priceless. And so I'm going to continue to be snapping these pictures every day and reviewing it. I'm really excited about the end of this week because this has the makings to be one of the most productive weeks I've had. I want to say period. I don't want to say, well, we'll see, because I know this is the first time I've used this approach where I could actually track what I've done in relationship to my goals. So that in and of itself makes it will make this week the most productive week, period. And so I'm really excited about that. I am still on the $1 Million Secret. That book, it's a good book. It definitely has given me a lot of food for thought, a lot of different things to think about in terms of my approach in life and how I can I'll get 70. I'm going to be doing a lot of push-ups tomorrow. And how I can change things up so that I can really get what I desire in life. One thing that I would share from that book that I think is huge is the part about the book where the author talks and deals with desire and how he dealt with the law of desire and how it's not about how we manifest these desires. It's about stating what it is and allowing our inner selves to hand over to us the how. And so that in and of itself has changed the paradigm for me, because I would kill my desires in the past by overthinking how it would be done. So he has an approach that I'm going to use, and it's stating the desire clearly on a sheet of paper and reviewing it, saying it out loud every morning, every evening, and then every week rewriting it on a fresh sheet of paper in my own handwriting, and allowing myself and allowing my inner self to deal with it and hand me over and that concept was actually spoke about in Napoleon Hill's work. I think because the way that he described it, it just makes sense. And I think it is time for me to try it on, because I've tried on the truth cards, and I truly believe that they work, just in terms of increasing my energy levels, just in terms of programming my own thoughts and causing me to speak positively, very, very positively, very directly to myself. So I'm a true believer in the truth cards. And so I'm going to be also doing this desire work. I'll get 80 push-ups. I'm going to be built by the time. And so I am going to be doing that desire. I am going to be doing the desire homework assignment, so to speak, the desired task every day, because I'm going to try it on. And one of the main reasons why the author said that it should be done in this fashion is because I shouldn't discount my own thoughts and ideas just because it originates from me. And so I'm going to give myself an opportunity to speak those things that be not as though they were. And I am going to be moving in that direction, having the faith vis-a-vis the act of writing the cards, reading them, and having that be the faith-building exercise in the law of desire in the universe. And I think one of the other reasons why it's becoming apparent to me, and I think it will work for me, is because now I have a solid definition on what faith is in terms of it being an action, and what belief is in terms of it being perception, and how faith is essentially it gives a confidence of the conviction, which is the belief. So because I've made it to this point, I'm going to continue. And he also said that one of the reasons why people maintain success, because anybody can get it, but he didn't say that. I heard that from somewhere else. Anybody can get $1 million, but it takes a person of wealth and value to maintain it and to multiply it. And so in order to become a person of wealth and value, I have to be continuing to build these habits, these rituals, so that I will be able to maintain all of the things that I desire as they start coming into my life. Taking this time to say I love you, taking this time to say I give thanks for you. I give thanks for you listening. I honor everything that you do, even if nobody else says good job, good work, you're doing an awesome job. I'm saying it. And if you should ever find your head hung low, do me this favor. My father used to tell me this all the time whenever he saw me in a similar position. He would turn to me, he would stop everything, and he would ask, son, and I would say, yes, Father. And he would say this in a very low, resonant voice, raise your head. And what I would also say is, you raise your head because you have greatness inside of you. You raise your head because your ideas are worth more than you realize. I say you raise your head because you have come to do something unique in this world. You have come to give this world something that nobody else can give it. I challenge you to be searching on the inside of yourself on a daily basis and asking yourself the question, how can you contribute to this world? How can you make this world a better place than you found it? And until the next time we speak.